right, so to grid your paper, I have just a basic sheet of 8.5 by 11 printer paper, copy paper, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to line it up at the top of the page. I'm going to make sure that I'm paying attention to where my 0 is. So for this ruler, it's where this edge is that comes up here. So this is the 0. On other rulers, like this one, the 0, sorry, wrong side, the 0 comes in a little bit. Okay, so the edge of the ruler is not where it starts measuring. It doesn't start measuring till right there. So make sure you pay attention to where your 0 is, so that way you know what to line up with the edge of your paper. For this ruler, this long edge is the 0. For this one, I would need to start in a little bit there. Okay, so just pay attention to that. That is an important piece of information to follow. So again, I'm going to just line up my 0 with the edge of my paper, and I'm going to go and mark every inch. Okay, the inches are the larger measurement. The smaller ones down below here, those are centimeters. So you're going to lightly mark, because you will want to erase these later on, but I'm just erasing at every inch, including the last one here where it's 8, even though the paper's 8.5. So I'm going to have that small section on this side, and that's okay. I'm then going to slide my paper down. I'm not going to turn anything around, because if you have measured off somehow, it's going to be a lot easier to keep things lined up if you just slide it down. Okay, so now I've slid this down, I'm going to go and mark again at every inch. Do not use the width of your ruler as measuring an inch. Okay, again, this ruler, if we were to measure that, this ruler you can see is 1.25 inches. Okay, it's not 1 inch wide. If we were to measure this one, this ruler is just over 1 inch. It actually is 1 inch. Some are, some are not. So don't count on it being 1 inch for your measurement. Once you have your lines at the top and at the bottom, you are then going to go and line those up. You need to mark at both places, so that way, in case there is something that's slightly off, you're not drawing at an angle. So I'm just going to draw very, very lightly. Sort of see that. You can see that better now. But the problem is, if you don't do 2 marks and you just do 1 mark, you could go and have it off at an angle if you're just measuring with 1. So with using 2 dots, measuring top and measuring the bottom, it's a little off there. Also notice how I have my hands spread out on the ruler, so I'm holding it down in 2 spots. If you are only pressing on one side, as you draw, you can easily move that ruler, so just be careful there. I'm going to keep going and get all of these marked. Okay, now I'm going to repeat that process. Going the opposite direction, I am going to line my ruler up and go and mark every 1 inch. Do it along the bottom. Again, draw lightly, because you will eventually be erasing all of your grid lines, and you don't want those marks left when you don't need them anymore. Okay, now that I have marks both on the top and the bottom, now I'm going to go and line those up and draw those lines in, and we will have our squares. So take a look at your final paper once you have all those marks done. Make sure they do look like squares. If they look like rectangles or they look like they're crooked, now is the time to fix that. If you try to draw with uneven squares, you will have a problem, and it's going to be much easier to fix it now than after you started working. Let me know if you need help.